Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Untangle Tech Talk series. Today we'll be showcasing all the features in our current release, version 12.1, and we will go through how you can upgrade to get on this latest version, whether you're on 9.x, 10.x, or 11.x. My name is Shannon Miles, and I'm part of the product marketing team here, and I'm your host today. I also have our Director of QA, John Coffin, who will be going through this presentation and demonstration on how to upgrade and answer any questions. Next slide, please, John. Thank you. So just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. If you have any audio issues, please make sure you're selecting the correct audio preference on the right-hand side. If you do select to use a phone, you will need to dial in and provide the access code. Just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded, so you will have the option to rewatch or revisit or share the recording. And as I mentioned, we'll be answering questions throughout the presentation. You can submit those questions through the Q&A box on the right-hand side as well. We have staff on hand to help answer those. And as always, if we don't get to your question, you can send questions to sales@untangle.com or support@untangle.com. Now, before I pass this over to John, I just want to reiterate that this is a little technical webinar, so if you're not really familiar with Untangle or networking concepts, this may not be the best webinar for you to watch. We do have other webinars that are more higher level that you can check out on our website. So with that, I'll pass it over to John.
Thanks, Shannon, and thanks everyone for joining us for this discussion. We actually have quite a bit to cover in this presentation because there's been a lot of changes since 9.4. We're actually on 12.1.2 right now with the latest release. So to start off, some of the releases that, first of all, the complete Untangle package is included on the CD that you can download or the USB image that you download from our website. This will contain everything that you need to install it. You no longer have to install the product and then download the apps once you install the product. Everything is complete on it. So it makes it a lot nicer if you're trying to rapidly release several untangles at a time. You don't have to use your bandwidth. It's all done at once. The networking is probably the biggest change since 9.4. You have a lot more capabilities. We have VLANs. We have high availability, which is VRRP, which allows you to have hot swappable untangles available if the main one goes down. Better support for PBOE. There's DHCP on every interface now, so you don't have to use all the special DHCP options and figure out what codes you actually need. So that is probably the biggest reason why there isn't a straight upgrade from 9.4 to 10 or 11 or so forth. The amount of changes on that network, it wasn't really possible with all the various network configurations out there to have a clean upgrade. And instead of having a lot of broken boxes, we thought it was better if everyone did a clean install at that point. Another huge feature is the wireless support. We do support a limited set of wireless chipsets now. So that wireless interface is just another interface on the Untangle networking. And we do support most of the widely used encryptions on those. The other thing is we've kind of limited how many changes we do to the kernel. That has enabled us to roll out security and vulnerability patches quicker. For example, the latest release, the 12.1.2, had a huge amount of Debian security and vulnerability patches. So you're completely up to date with the latest Debian security. We have a new intrusion prevention app which provides a better set of signatures for catching vulnerabilities. Those are actually downloaded fairly recently with a new version, and we have a new update on those pretty regularly. So they can make it a lot better. It's much better configured now than it was before. Another huge thing for admin is to be able to get alerts. You can get alerts emailed to you or in the reports, which have, like, for example, if new devices are on the network, you'll get an email saying, hey, something just added to your network. You can set up if certain block pages are set, if viruses are detected, if you do high amounts of downloads, if some machine is doing a high amount of downloads or uploads, there's alerts for that. You can also customize the alerts to almost any kind of report area. Another huge thing is we do DHCP, HTTPS and TLS decryption for inspection, and we re-encrypt it with our own certificate, so it passes on to the whether it's a mail server or the clients behind that. It is a little bit more advanced, and there's a webinar specifically on that, on how to configure that. You can find it on our support page and also on our YouTube channel. OpenVPN is now, before you had to choose whether you want to be an OpenVPN server or you wanted it to be a client for site-to-site. You can now do both at the same time. So you can have an Untangle at a remote site. It can be a client for those workers maybe working at home where they can VPN to that remote office directly. And also that remote office can be connected to the main office all at the same time. Very useful, very straightforward to use. On the area of VPNs, we have now L2TP and encryption for Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS. Pretty much all your top work type PCs out there. You'll be able to connect those right up with the built-in VPN on those platforms. Reports is all new. It's been completely worked out. One nice feature of new reports is that you can actually customize the reports to get the specific kind of reports that you're looking for. No longer do you have to rely on our canned ones that we try to grab the most amount of information that most people will use. Now you can actually configure it specifically to your use and get that out. The dashboard, that just came out in 12. It actually allows you to look at your network in real time, and you can customize the widgets in the dashboard. So you can have, again, specific information that you need to keep your network safe and working well for your clients. There's an experimental feature. It allows you to log in with like Facebook and so forth, Facebook and Google. For authentication, you can actually use, if you use like Google apps, whether it's mail and so forth, instead of having a directory connector based on Windows, you can use Google directory systems to actually have people log in and use that username in their network identification. So it's pretty useful. Still a little experimental, so there might be some gotchas with it. We'll kind of cover some of these more in depth. Like, for example, VLANs will be supported, will be covered in our next webinar, more in depth. It's pretty involved and so forth, but we'll cover these a little bit as we go along. So a lot of people on 9.4, they're being stuck on that because maybe the admin left or so forth. It's the easiest way I find to upgrade, since it's a new install from 9.4. Is just to create a virtual instance with a new version and then go through the screen side by side and move the settings over to the new one. Because not all the settings are in the same area, so you might have to move around. Once you have the new configuration set up in a VM, you can just download a backup format, install 12.0 on your newest build, on your hardware, and then use the backup that you created on your virtual instance. Makes it really easy. We also provide professional services, so we can help move over your services over there. I think a lot of times the main reason people don't move off 9.4 is, whoever set that up is no longer, they're not sure on how that's set up. So we're here to help you move off 9.4, definitely. Of course, if you're on 10.0 or 11, so forth, all you have to do is press the upgrade button and you'll be on the very latest build. So again, it's only once that we've done this where we require a new install, just because the network changed so much that we're requiring a new install. But everything since 10 is a simple upgrade like it was before. Networking, VLANs, just huge. I mean, a lot of people use VLANs. It's a way to have multiple connections to a remote area through one wire. You can connect the VLANs through there. You can separate the traffic. Really useful way of doing that. It's very easy to use. It's pretty standard. You really have to kind of understand the way VLANs work. And it requires a little bit in-depth networking to get that installed. But we do provide that feature now. It's widely used, and it can really help. BRP, high availability. It allows you to have two untangles now. One is kind of a dormant untangle, and it will be both connected, both are live. But as soon as any of the untangles notices, and you can have either a second hot swap, or you could have up to like 3. All could be all dependent on the main one. So there's a master and then slaves. So if any one of the untangles goes down, and it happens to be a master, it will automatically switch over to one of the slave untangles, and that will always. And it's almost seamless. I've actually switched them out manually myself. I mean, literally unplugging the untangle, and I had almost no downtime in any of my streaming or so forth as it switched over to the other untangle. Really well used. We have a huge documentation on that feature. Let me just show you how that is. So yeah, we have a huge page on how to set it up, how it's configured. Again, it's 2 untangles side by side, and we have a virtual address that's shared between the 2. And this can be either done on one interface, or you can actually have both sides, the WAN and the LAN, shared. And so depending on which one's the master and which one's the slave, all traffic will go through the master. And now the slave detects the master is down and will automatically redirect the traffic through itself and cause almost no downtime. It's huge. Like if you need to have really high redundancy at a particular site, this is the way to go. I use this pretty frequently on some live sites, and it's just extremely useful. Some of the other areas, improved PPOE support. It was kind of hit or miss. A lot of times it worked. We've had a lot better success with working with PPOE modems provided by ISPs. Works out there. Another huge thing is the DHCP per interface. Before, we only had one DHCP. If you wanted to create DHCP on every interface, you had to do the DHCP options, which made it very difficult. Now it's just as simple as saying, I want these IP ranges on this interface, and it's kind of a done deal. Interface naming, you can now actually provide names to the interfaces. One example is right here. We'll take a look. So while we have regular interfaces here, you can actually name those itself. Like I know this is connected to my wireless AP, sorry. So I went ahead and renamed the interface as wireless. I know this is an internal, so I just wanted to put a different, slightly name into it, but it's actually an internal interface. Makes it pretty easy to understand which interface is which when you come back at a later time. You can also disable an interface. Before, the interface was always live and it didn't have an IP. Could have caused some problems, especially if you didn't realize you left an IP range on a certain interface and then you use that same interface, same IP range on a new interface. Disabling really creates a better security and less chances of having redundant images. Again, we have wireless support. As you can go to our webpage, you can see we have quite a few appliances now that have wireless support and wireless themselves on it. We support both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz traffic. It allows you to put different kinds of securities on it, whether you want it completely public, if you want to put some encryption on there, and what level of encryption that you want on that. Again, it's a very limited set of chipsets. That's on our wiki if you're looking to build your own. Let's go. Security improvements. Can't really emphasize how great it is to have the very latest Debian security updates on there. Really, Debian really keeps up with all the latest security leaks and makes those updates. With our new streamlined kernel and the updates, we're able to push out those security updates far quicker now. The new intrusion prevention has monthly updates. You get that from our cloud-based updates. Really quick, provides really instructions. Again, you can customize that to create, certain searches and blocks, whether on your preference or what you see on your network. Just a huge improvement on them. The email alerts are configurable, as you can see. Let me scoop over that. And if we go to the reporting app, so these are a lot of the baseline ones that you create, like a new device. It tells me if a new device gets on the network. I actually created this one. I like to know when the firewall blocks a specific rule. So I go in there, and just say, if we have a firewall rule event and the block is true, I want that to be logged, and I can also send that as an email to me. So it makes it really useful that I don't have to keep an eye on my Untangle to find out what's going on. I actually get email alerts now based on what's interesting to me. Geo-blocking. So now you can actually block by country, and that makes it pretty useful if you're looking, for example, in this case, we have an FTP server, and we know the FTP server only has connections to United States and Netherlands. So I just pretty much block everybody else. I just create a real simple rule here, and I say, if destination port is 21 and it's not US, Netherlands, or Japan, go ahead and block this. Makes it really easy. I get a lot more hits, a lot less hits on my FTP server. Now people trying to log in with obviously random passwords and logins, but it makes it pretty easy. It's really straightforward now. You actually you can either specify the country codes directly, or you can actually pick them from a list. So it makes it really easy to do geo-blocking now. And let's go back to some of the other things. HTTP and TLS inspection. So really improvement now. You do have WebFilter can actually analyze the packets more closely, even without SSL Inspector installed. But with SSL Inspector, we can actually see the full URL now. It does require a little bit of work because you have to install the certificates on each of the desktop machines. You have to create certain racks to make sure only the PCs that have the special certificate is installed, and so forth. So there's a little bit of work involved there. Again, we have a webinar on YouTube for that. So if you're really interested in installing SSL Inspector, definitely look at that seminar. It will help you install that. So again, with the SSL certificate installed with SSL Inspector, you can view the entire URL. You can do captive portal based on the URL they're going to, and we provide a Windows installer to install the certificate on Windows boxes, because unfortunately Firefox keeps their certificates in a different location than Chrome and IE. So we make it pretty simple, but again, I would definitely look at that webinar if you plan to deploy that. VPN services. So really a long list of VPN upgrades. First of all, OpenVPN can be both a client and server. Makes it far more versatile. You don't have to have two untangles if you have that kind of predicament. Provides an easy way to connect between multiple untangles if you're looking to do site-to-site. IPsec for site-to-site connections. Probably the most widely used VPN type service across there. You can actually connect to non-untangles, and people have it connected to Amazon, for example. Provides point-to-point connection. If you do have multiple LANs on either end, you will have to have an IPsec tunnel for each of the network ranges on your network in order to get those to provide service. So just something to remember. L2TP client, pretty much built into Windows, Mac, Android, iOS, pretty much across the board. It's pretty widely used. Really easy to set up. Just provides, there's tons of documents for step-by-step for configuring those on whatever PC you're planning to put that in. Makes it pretty useful. Just kind of, we went through a lot pretty quickly, so I just wanted to kind of see if there's any, wide variety of questions that I could answer for anyone. Does anyone have any?
They're all pretty specific, John. Very specific to everyone's networking setup. I think possibly if you can demo any anything would be good.
Yeah, let me just go back here to so you can actually see what some of these features look like. First of all is the dashboard, probably most widely used. Just a ton of information. You can actually change these widgets if you decide you don't want to see particular ones. You can create them. It's just a wide use. By adding, you can just select a report and say you want to have it on the widget, so you can see that graph. What I find useful, particularly on the widgets, is what kind of machine I have. If you actually buy an appliance for us, it'll say the specific model. If it doesn't, if you're using your own, it'll just say custom. It will list the CPUs on there, how much memory it's on there. Really useful when you're managing quite a few untangles. Resources is pretty handy, especially disk space. You can see how well your disk space is starting to fill up. I don't usually use the CPU load, but it can be useful if you're seeing, if all of a sudden you're seeing some high peak loads. You can go down here to network interface, like, oh, do I have a lot of traffic, or is, a lot of things going on. This is kind of a culmination of all your networking. For those that are interested in licensing, and everyone asks, like, how many device licenses do I really need? The crucial answer is actually right here in the network information widget. So currently active is what you need a license for. So in this case 10, I have a 10-unit device license. I'm perfectly in compliance. What's might be interesting to you is how many active, maximum active. So this is at any one time how many devices were using my Untangle. In this case, I was using 13. So in that case, I was actually out of compliance by 3 devices. And the way it works with licensing is that any amount that you go over, what happens is those people will still be able to connect to the internet. They're just not protected by Untangle. It's not filtered. So that's the only difference between the amount of devices that I'm licensed for and any extra that I have over my licensing will just simply not be filtered, and they just, but they will still have internet access. We got a lot of questions on that. Kind of tells me my bandwidth over here per NIC. So every interface is listed here. As you can see, I have 3 internal interfaces, and looks like I have almost nothing on my wireless, nothing on my other LAN, but quite a bit of traffic on one of the internals. Here, if I look at my map, here are all the connections that traffic from my Untangle is connected to. So you can see I'm connected to several areas, quite a few on here, even as far as this particular location is out in California. So it's even connecting as far as New Zealand. And you can see there were a couple of bumps in traffic for high traffic area. You can see what kind of categories the web filters is going to. It looks like a lot of content filtering. And then I can also see even by application control. So it looks like Dropbox is the main culprit here of what I'm using. Some of the other areas I look at, sessions per minute. Obviously there was a big spike at about 8:20. Probably everybody was getting into the office, so there's a big spike in our traffic. Again, all my alerts are listed here also. I can actually see who's using the bandwidth. It looks like David's using like about half of my bandwidth right now. And I can see which PC is using quite a bit also. Some of the other things I can use, like the other thing is these current widgets are live. So let's say I'm not interested in traffic from Mike's Mac here. So I can actually take him out of the graph and only see the traffic from the other people. Other things I can do, like, oh, I'm not interested in this particular server's traffic, and I'm not interested in this particular PC. So now I can see, like, most of the traffic is obviously coming from this particular IP on my LAN. Makes it pretty useful to quickly troubleshoot your traffic just all on one page. I can see exactly what's going on my network. Like I was saying, VPN tunnels, pretty easy to set up. You know, right here here I have close to 6 traffic going across the networks, and it tells me the status if they're connected. So green means connected, they're good, and they're all configured and going well. Again, reports is customizable. I can take a look at, you know, what my traffic is like, what VPN tunnels are being used, who's logging in for different areas. Just a huge rows. And then I can also set the dates that I want the traffic and so forth. Although this one's taking a little long, probably because so much traffic is on the box. We were talking about network features. So some of the nice network features are, again, I can actually set the IP ranges per device. So I have my own DHCP configuration, and I can determine which IPs will go with which interface. Like, for example, this one, I can have a different range of IPs that go for that particular interface. Really easy, right on the web page. I don't have to figure out what strange options to pick and what the correct formatting of the language of the information is. I just have fields, and it tells me exactly what I need to put in there. So port forwarding is pretty easy. You know, we actually have this simplified area. So you can just put in the basic information, but you can also switch to advanced if you want to do a complicated port forward rule. Excuse me. Some of the nice troubleshooting areas here, we actually have some troubleshooting tests that you can go on here. And like if you're having problems with the Untangle, it can just quickly run through some tests and say, oh, my connectivity is good, so that's not a problem. I can also run, DNS tests to say, oh, am I having problems? Is my DNS having problems? So I can try the DNS, and it says, oh, it's all good. So some quick tests to do. One of the things that I use a ton when I'm trying to solve some problems is the session viewer. It's one of the most useful things, and I can't emphasize, if you forward, if you're doing firewall rules, and for some reason your rule is not working, take a look at the session viewer. It's probably one of the easiest. It tells you exactly what's going on. It tells you what interface is coming in, what's going out, what machine it is, the IP address, what port it's using, what port it's going out, what country it's coming from, who's the user of that particular box, and then what kind of device, what kind of application, what bandwidth am I using. Just a ton of stuff that will help you debug the rules. Like if the rules don't match this particular session, it's not going to fire on it. So I can easily figure out, oh, I need to add this to my firewall, or I need to take this out of my firewall. Really useful areas. One other feature that's new on 12 is you can actually get a list of the current devices. It tells you what devices, when it was last seen, just a ton of information on all the devices that are on you. What kind of HTTP browser is it using? These devices, of course, have built-in browsers. Just a ton of information of what is on your network. And you can say, hey, what's this device? I don't know anything about the device, and you can kind of investigate that at that point. Really useful. Again, that's available there. It's also available in under configuration. You can look at hosts. Active means is currently sending traffic across the network, and you can also see if it's I believe you have licensing on here. Yeah, entitlement status. This means, do I have a license for that particular device, and if it's being filtered. So true means it's being filtered and your license is in compliance. So it's kind of useful for that too, especially when you're not sure if you're on the border of a particular licensing scheme. Let's see here. That's pretty well the main features. Let's go back here. Reporting. So the reporting has changed drastically. It's now dynamic. You can actually generate the reports on the fly. You can select any time range. Before it was like, do you want 60 days, 40 days? It's really quick now. You can just pick whatever range conditions. Let me just demo that real quick. So we just pick firewall rules, and I'll just say let's see if this machine's not too busy. Okay, so it shows me what IPs have blocked and so forth. But let's say I'm just interested in people coming in. Let's see, we're just interested in people going to the FTP server. So I'm going to pick the FTP, which is going to be so I can go ahead and then filter those out just by using my IP address. So again, slightly different grab. I can change my date on when I want to change when the start date is going to be. I can change the end date. let's say right here, and then I can just refresh and get a new report on it. Really easy to do. Easy to do. You can also customize it. Here's the particular rules for that particular report. I can go ahead and make changes. Let's say I don't really like that. It's like I want more of a column graph, and change that. And if I refresh it, I think I changed it to report. Oh, I see what I did wrong. The date range is not in the right group. So, really easy to use. Nothing complicated about the date and so forth. So it makes it just, I put the wrong date here. Let's just put the next date. Makes it, really easy to change these graphs. And again, you can have these graphs as widgets on your dashboard. You can see all the hosts that are here that have been come on. Let's see which ones are active, which ones have been added in a certain period of time. You can see when the first time that device was ever seen on the network. Just a huge amount of information that you can get from that. Dashboard, of course, real time. You can create custom widgets. You can create custom layout. You can move the widgets around. Just get the ones that you're interested in at the top. Just makes a huge amount of information that you can have just at your fingertips. I often leave those dashboards just open on all the untangles that I use so I can see what's going on those particular ones. That is pretty much all the features. Again, definitely ask questions on the forum. We can help you do that upgrade from 9.4. If you're looking to upgrade from 9.4, we're here to help. So whatever we can do to make that transition easier, let us know. Again, tons of people have gone through that conversion, so there's a lot of help out there. And that's about all I have, Shannon.
Yeah, thanks, John. We're getting a few questions in now, but we'll answer those as they come in. Again, I know this is a little confusing if you're on 9.4. It seems like a kind of tenuous upgrade process. It's all for good reason, as John mentioned, for security reasons as well as a better overall upgrade to the product. But we're here to help. As John mentioned, we have the forums, we have the wiki, but if you are completely lost or completely new to Untangle, or your IT admin left, we have professional services that can help you. So please utilize that. You can contact us at sales@untangle.com. Yeah, next slide, John, please.
Sorry.
So just want to mention something. We're very excited that we can announce that we were mentioned, Untangle was mentioned and named in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for Unified Threat Management for the first time. For those of you who are not aware of who Gartner is, they are one of the world's leading information technology research and advisory companies. So you can get a look at their report and see what they kind of see trends coming in and kind of the top players and see why Untangle NG Firewall was recognized in this report. You can check it out on our website. Yeah. Okay, so it's October, so Halloween's coming up, and with that we have a contest going on right now. We have the Horrors of IT Share Your Story contest. You can check it out on the forums. That's where we're hosting it. So share your crazy IT story, whether it be scary, funny, ridiculous, out there. We want to hear about it. We have some great prizes. So check it out on our website and on the forums. We want to hear about it. We want to see what you guys have dealt with. Yes, the webinar is being recorded. You will get a follow-up email tomorrow with the recording as well as additional information. Let's see. And I know there were a little confusion on the licensing that John mentioned, and you can, if you have any questions about licensing, please contact us at sales@untangle.com, or you can go to our website and click on the Buy tab on the top right. That will show you all of the options with device limits and everything, whether you're buying the complete package or or getting just one of the couple apps. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully this wasn't too overwhelming for you. We have a ton of resources, sales, support, wiki forums. Check out our next webinar. Webinar is coming up for the rest of the year. As John mentioned, we'll be going through advanced networking features, so really technical deep dive into everything you can do with Untangle. If you want to take the time to do that, we have a webinar, so check it out. If you're new to Untangle, we have a 101 coming up in December, and then we'll start getting back onto all the apps, all the new upgrades that were done in 12. We're going to be doing these tech talks on those. So thanks, John, for the great demonstration and presentation. Hopefully this was useful to everyone, and we hope to see you next time.